Barbara Arthur. So I said, hey, you're in town. Why don't you come and visit us? So here she is. Good morning.
Good morning.
So I appreciate you attending the event. What made you want to, I know you're on the campaign trail, but why did you pick the Baby Love event to come on out and meet and greet?
Well, pro-life is a very big deal to me. I'm a strong supporter of life. And so I think it's important to show up. Mm-hmm. It's not just talk about it, to do it.
Absolutely. And that's why we threw that baby shower. And we wanted to make sure that everybody knew that we were going to put the money where our mouths are. And that's the most important thing. So, Barbara, I brought you up to the microphone because I thought it was so nice that you had come to, to lend your support to the event. But also, we've heard your story before. For those who haven't, tell us why you decided to enter into this race. There is a giant incumbent here, but he let's say it quite frankly, he pissed off a lot of people by voting along with Democrats to impeach our beloved President Trump, who was doing such great things for this country. And so we feel his days are numbered, and a lot of qualified candidates have stepped up to the plate. What made you do that?
Okay. First and foremost, Liz, I love God, and I walk with him, and I hear his voice. And when I saw what was happening in America, the communist tactics being used by the left and the media on American citizens, especially after the election, don't you dare rise up or speak out against this election. Don't you dare even think that it was stolen. It bothered me. I was extremely concerned about that because I was born in communist Cuba. I saw communist tactics at play, and after January 6th. And so it frightened me.
Did you see any correlation between what happened during that election period or after that election period? In what ways? Can you give us any examples? Like what would be a communist tactic so we can identify it?
Absolutely. When I saw the media just trying to intimidate anyone who dare to speak against it in any way. If we even said we think it was stolen, they would come upon you, they would crush you, they would make you lose your job. That's where cancel culture came about after that. And honestly, Liz, I think the whole world knows that it was stolen. Honestly, it's just the media and their communist tactics, which is intimidation. Don't you dare speak up against it, or we're going to crush you.
So when January 6th came, many of us were horrified to see certain behaviors by certain people beating up on police officers. And the violence is just very uncomfortable, scary to watch. You don't know if it's zoomed in or zoomed out, you're just watching it on TV. But, we've gotten a lot of information since then. What is your take today in this, from what we have learned over the past year or so about what happened on January 6th?
People felt their vote was stolen. I felt what they did was to go up to to the Capitol and protest was absolutely our constitutional right. And I also heard and saw the video where President Trump said, you go and you march peacefully. So that what happened there, I was not there, but I have spoken with many people who were. And what I have heard from the ones that were there was, I didn't see what they're showing on television. I didn't see that. So again, I was not there. I'm just hearing from what I've heard from people who were there, and that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
We didn't see that. But again, I am very much in favor for us as Americans to hold on to our constitutional right. We have the right to protest peacefully. And I don't mean burning buildings and rioting. That is not peaceful protest.
Right. Absolutely. Now, what do you think Tom Rice got wrong?
Well, impeaching President Trump, voting with the communists in Congress.
Not just the Democrats, but there was a lot of communists.
Completely. And so he voted with them. It was just another political attack against my president.
Why do you think Tom Rice did that? We're not in his head.
Right.
He said to me, his comment to me was via text, well, I learned some things since January 6th.
And
did he ever tell you what those were?
No, he never told me what the things were.
So.
Okay, he's compromised somehow.
Well,
so
you startled me when you said that. Okay, so he's compromised somehow?
Absolutely. To do what he did, knowing how strongly his district is pro-Trump, and to actually take that stand, there's something in it for you. I don't know exactly what it is, but I believe he is compromised somehow.
You feel that way?
Absolutely.
A lot of people do feel that the election was certainly stolen. It was less than, transparent. But also locally, that feeling has been going on a lot because there's been a major push by multiple facets of our GOP here. And we're fractured. We're a fractured bunch, but we're all kind of gunning for the same thing. But we all felt that the primary prior to 2020 November was compromised in many ways. We felt that there was a local kind of funny business going on. We're not confident going into 2020 November 2020. We weren't confident going into that election. We saw Biden come in like a half dead dog coming into the state and left the king, crowned by James Clyburn. That didn't make sense. The primary results didn't make sense for us locally. And next thing you know, we have this. What do you think has to happen in South Carolina? We hear that there's a group, scsafeelections.org. I've been following them. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but they have a 4.5-hour live stream on video on their website that goes through the major counties that have had problems. One of them is Horry County. I don't know if the other ones they focus on were in your
yes,
would be
Florence
in District 7.
Is one of them also.
Okay. Frightening stuff.
Very.
And they're saying, this is a lot of smoke. We need a forensic audit.
Well, I'll tell you, as a candidate and campaigning in all 8 counties, this is what I'm hearing. I met a woman, and I can use her name, but I won't because she gave me permission. She's in Lake City, Florence. She said she voted straight Republican, and when that confirmation ballot printed, no one she voted for was on that ballot. They tore up that ballot, and she had to redo it. And I asked her 15 to 20 times before it was printed right. Then I was at a breakfast in Hartsville at Shoney's with a group of men. I was invited to speak. 2 men at that breakfast both said they voted straight Republican. Everyone they voted for was on that that confirmation ballot, except for Trump, and it wasn't even given to Biden. It was given to the Green Party. I met a woman while campaigning in Bennettsville in a parking lot. She told me some of the people she voted for were on the ballot, while others were not. There is a problem.
Wow.
I have asked regarding these machines. I am doing this to the point where I have literally worn out a pair of Dansko sandals last summer. I am working very, very hard. I have put our own money into this. I want secure elections. So I have asked Jay Lucas about this. The response that I received was, oh, yes, there may be some troubles, but it costs so much money.
We just heard that this morning from Reese.
Yeah.
Reese says, I don't know if we can, he said it's going to cost a lot of money. You know what that's going to take to do a forensic audit? And I'm thinking to myself,
we waste all kinds of money constantly.
What is freedom worth? That should be a COVID expenditure because of the fact that a lot of these issues happen because of COVID, because of new guidelines from COVID. We had to follow protocols because of COVID. We had to change the 2020 election. So now we should use those funds because now we're post COVID. It's endemic. Let's see what we can do to make it better, safer.
Absolutely. Anything we can do to secure our election going forward, we have to do that. America, this administration is at war with its own people. So, stealing the votes is nothing that they're not capable of doing or that they have not done. They've done it. But they're at war with our military. They're at war with our police. They're at war with the middle class. They're at war with our healthcare. They're at war with our children and our schools. The things that I'm reading are almost unbelievable. They're at war with the small business. This administration, wicked, evil, criminal administration, is at war with its own people.
Barbara, we've interviewed you before. You have changed a lot, but your message is the same. But I'm saying you've changed a lot because it seems like you've heard so many stories, and it's almost like you've been gathering up the passions of everybody around you. You know, you had a message before against communism, but I just see like a difference. I see a difference today. And one of the main things is I feel like you've learned a lot from talking to people from all over this area. So what are the main things you're going to bring to Washington for us?
Okay. Thank you for asking that question. I've heard some of my opponents say that when they get there, they're going to hit the floor running, fighting healthcare. Well, that sounds really nice. But if we send someone to Washington who's going to focus on fighting for our healthcare, we're going to lose our country. Because the most important thing right now is our freedom. And these communists up there are the masters of deceit. They will have you looking at healthcare, infrastructure. They will have you paying attention to CRT, which is extremely important. All these issues are extremely important. But in the darkness, they're working their evil plans of taking over our country and overturning our Constitution. So if God allows me to serve, the number one focus for me will be their communist agenda, pushing back on all those bills and all that language that they have in there. Just read some of this stuff. $400,000 in that BB bill, $400 billion, forgive me, $400 billion towards universal child care. Why does the government want to get a hold of our 3- and 4-year-olds? That does not sound right to me. Knowing where
more time to take over their little brains.
What they're doing already in some of these schools, what I am hearing, 12-year-old in Florida was being lured into counseling. The parents were not advised of this, and she was actually given a boy name, and then her gender pronoun was changed. That little girl attempted suicide twice. This is in the Epoch Times newspaper just recently. The parents were not advised the first time. The second time they were called because she was already in the hospital. She tried to hang herself in the bathroom. Her parents were kept from her for a week. Meanwhile, the hospital and the school were communicating regarding this child. What is going on? This system is trying to protect kids from their parents?
That happened in Cuba?
That happened in Florida.
No, I'm saying, did that happen in Cuba as well, where the government is so involved? Because we heard from Bernie Sanders that he had such a stellar literacy rate because Castro made sure all the little children could read. And then we asked, well, what the heck were they reading?
Exactly. What they're being trained in the schools in Cuba and in China is how to be activists for their agenda and how to turn in their parents and their teachers. The teachers are frightened.
We saw that after January 6th. We saw parents being turned in by their children.
Oh, my goodness. In America.
Yeah.
In America. And what frightens me is some schools in New York are requiring that the students not use the words mother or father. That's insanity. We are in America.
They already took out God.
That's the first thing to go, and that's one of the reasons why I'm in this fight. I love the Lord with all my heart, and I believe America, our only hope is God. We need to turn back to God. We got to remember who blessed us. We've got to remember that the pilgrims crossed that ocean to come here for freedom of religion, to be able to worship God as they will. We got to remember that the colonists picked up arms against the greatest military force in the world for freedom. Our freedom is extremely important. We got to remember that our men and women in uniform fight for our freedom. What does freedom mean to you? How much are you willing to sacrifice for your freedom? I am willing to fight whatever it takes for our freedom, for America's freedom, for my children's freedom. It matters.
District 7 candidate Barbara Arthur, we have a question for you on the PCRXcomputers.com text line.
I think we're going to run out of time on that. I will tell you this. A lot of people are texting and saying they love your passion. One person said she's in fuego, on fire. Another one said Marjorie Taylor Greene in our backyard. The other one said that maybe you should define, instead of communism, it's more corporatism and globalism.
They don't know any better.
Yeah.
Get informed as to what communism really is. I was born in communist Cuba. I came here when I was 5 years old. I was put on an airplane, and I didn't see my mother for 23 years. I remember not eating, being in bed, and my mother walking in. I was about 3 years old with a little can of Libby's nectar and learning how to read the word Libby's at 3.5 because I hadn't eaten in 3 days. I know what communism is. So I think the person needs to read up on that.
Because it really is truthfully communism, what we're seeing.
Let's not call it socialism.
One person wants to help you out. Volunteer campaign, how they get in touch.
BarbaraArthurForCongress.com. BarbaraArthurForCongress.com, or you can call me 843-621-3633. 843-621-3003. 843-621-3003. Thank you.
Well, every time we have you on, we always get a lot of favorable texts, just letting you know. So if that gives you any notion about how your message is reaching our listenership, you know it. It is 8:53 on the Liz Callaway Show with Nick Summers. That is District 7 candidate Barbara Arthur. We'll be back in a moment.
The Liz Callaway Show with Nick Summers. Back in a bit on Talk 94.5.
Website, Budget Blind.